In this tutorial, we are going to learn to do something practical with Oracle VirtualBox, and that is to install Android operating system. Currently, I am using VirtualBox 7.0. You can also be able to accomplish the same steps using Oracle VirtualBox 5.0. Any version, I will say, above 5.0, you'll be able to accomplish these steps, because I have tested until version 5. I'm not really sure about versions below 5, and so you can test that on your own. But for this case, I am using VirtualBox 7.0. So we'll close this, and before we start anything else to create our virtual machine, first we need to download the Android operating system, and that can be found in this URL. That is android-x86.org. This is where you will find the ISO image for the Android operating system that you can be able to install in the VirtualBox. And this is the website where you can be able to download that ISO image, and you will click on the navigation menu and select download. And here there are two main sites where you can download the ISO image. Most of the times I use the Force Hub, but any will work. And therefore here, as you can see, this is the latest Android version that is available, that is version 9.0. And here we want to choose either the 64-bit ISO file or the 32-bit ISO file. So the ISO is what we want, because when we want to install operating systems in the VirtualBox, we will need to use the ISO image. So also there are older versions that you can use. These are the older versions. We got version 8.1, we've got version 7, and others as you go down. So you'll choose what version works for you, but for our case, I will use version 7 because I think it's lightweight. It doesn't have a lot of memory, and for demonstration purposes we are going to use that. And still the steps are the same when you're using any version above 7. So I will create a virtual machine. So I will going to click on the new icon, and in this dialog box here, for the name for the virtual machine, I'll give it a descriptive name, and that is Android OS, because I'm going to install the Android operating system on this virtual machine. And here I will select the path for the virtual for the Android OS ISO image, and I will click on other, and I will select the version 7, and I will click on open, and I will click on next. For the base memory, which is the RAM memory, I will leave it at 2 GB, which is enough. And here, when I create the virtual hard disk, I will make mine 5 GB, which is also enough for the demonstration of this tutorial, but you can add more depending on what use you want to use the Android OS. And I will click on next, and here I get a summary of the configuration for my virtual machine, and I will click on finish. And still I will click on my virtual machine, and I will right click and say settings. There are some few changes I want to make on my settings. Here on the general, it said that the version of this operating system is Ubuntu 32, which is not. And I will choose Linux 2.6 or version 3.x, 4.x or 5.x, that is the 32-bit. These are the kernel version for the Linux operating system, since Android uses Linux OS. And I'll come at the network, and I will change the NAT to bridged adapter. There is no problem, NAT will still work the same. I just love to use the bridged adapter. And here on advanced options, you can choose the adapter types that you want. Any will work, but since I'm using Windows, most of the times it works well with the Intel Pro. And the cable is connected, that means we'll have internet. So as far as we are concerned, that is what we need, and I will press on OK, and I will start my virtual machine. So it won't take so much time to power up the virtual machine. Just takes less than a minute, and therefore we will see the virtual machine popping up, and there it is. So we will give it some time to load, and here there is this screen that we can see. Here we choose the mode of installation, whether we want to run it as a live CD or CD debug mode, but we want to install it. And I will choose the third option, that is to install Android x86 to hard disk. In the advanced option, there are other options to be able to install automatically. You can explore on your own, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we are going to do everything manually, and I will press enter. So it's loading the configuration, it's reading the scripts, and I will just give it some time. And here I am asked to choose a partition, so I will click on C so that I can be able to create or modify partition, and I will press enter. Then it asked me if I want to use GPT. GPT is a file system that is dominantly used by Windows operating system, and since Android operating system is Linux, it won't be useful. So I will say no. And here, as you can see, I'm given option to be able to create the partition. So I will use my left and right arrow keys, and I will select the new, and I will press enter, and I will press enter. I'll make sure the primary is selected. Here there is logical and there is cancel, but I will select the primary and press enter. And I will also press enter because I will create new. I will say primary, and I will press enter to say that it is 5 GB that I want, and I will specify that it should be bootable, and I will press enter with the bootable selected, and I will select the right option so that I can be able to write a partition on the disk, and I will press enter, and it asks me if I am sure that I want to write the partition table to the disk. Then I will type yes and press enter. So it will write the partition table to disk. It doesn't take much time, just a few seconds, and there it is. It has written, and I will quit this by pressing enter on quit. So now in this section we have selected the SDA1 as our hard drive. For those who are conversant with Linux, they know that the hard drives are mostly labeled SDA. It can be 1, 2, 3 depending on the partitions that you have, but since we have just one hard drive and one partition, it's named SD1. So I will press on OK. Then I will reformat it to ext4, which is the Linux file system, and I will say yes to format it with that file partition. Then it will give me an option to install the bootloader grab, and I will say yes. Then I will select no to make the system directory as read and write. So you'll give it time for it to install the Android OS in the hard drive. It may take just a few while. So it's syncing to disk. It has already completed formatting. It won't take a while. This is our last step, and here it says it's installed successfully. And at this point, when we are asked either to run Android 86 or to reboot, we won't choose either, because if we reboot or run the Android 86, still it will run the Android OS that is in the virtual CD drive. So I'll have to shut down the machine, say power off, and click on OK. Then I right click on my virtual machine, that is the Android OS, and I'll come to storage, click on the controller IDE, and I will remove disk from the virtual drive, and I will press OK, and that is actually what we did as far as we are concerned. And I will start again to power on my virtual machine. Just a few steps, it will take just some few seconds, and it will power up. There it is. We need to be patient at this point. And here there are options that we are given. Normally we will select the first option, but because the Android OSs which are version 5 and higher, there is a bug that is there, which when you load it normally it will just load the system files, then it will remain blank screen, and it will stay like that like forever. And so to avoid that, we need to make some few configuration settings, and therefore we'll have to select the debug mode. But after this, we'll just normally use the first option. It's just making changes on these settings. So I'll select debug mode and press enter. So it's loading some configurations, some scripts, and checking the system. You need to be patient also at this point, because it has not finished loading. It takes quite some time. It's quite some time. Now at this point we will be able to now type some few commands so that we can be able to make changes on the menu.lst file in the grab folder. And I will type mount -o remount comma space read and write /mnt, and I will press on enter. Then I will have to change the directory to / the mount folder, and inside the mount folder there is the grab folder, and I will press on enter. And at this point I will use V to make the changes to the menu.lst file, V space menu.lst. And at this point I will come to the second line where it's written quiet root. Yes, there where my cursor is blinking, and I will press I to enter into edit mode. Then I will press space, and I will type no mode set _. So that is the only option we are going to set, and I will press escape to get out of edit mode, and I will type :W to write and Q to quit the application. So at this point I can close my file, and I will say power off the machine, say OK, and I will click on start again to power up once more my virtual machine. It's going to take some few seconds before it powers up. So now it's loading. So I'll choose the first option. So it's loading. the files that are required by the Android OS, and there you can see the Android and it's blinking, it's loading. So you'll give it some time. You need to be patient at this point. It will depend on how fast your system is, and there is the Android logo, and it will take a few minutes. And now it has finished loading. So a screen will just come out to let us now configure the Android OS. You just need to be patient. It might take a while. Now there is our welcome screen, and at this point we will click the let's go. To start give settings to our, I click on escape. I think I clicked on the wrong I'll click on let's go. Sorry, sometimes the system is slow, but just give it some time for it to load. It's a heavy operating system, Android itself, but when you install it on the physical machine, you shouldn't have any issues or be slow. We'll say let's go. Then we'll say set up as new start. You just need to be patient. Sometimes it can be slow. Then at this point, it's trying to connect to the network. I don't want to set up a network now, so I'll say don't use any network for setup. I will click on that option. Sometimes it's not responsive, as you can see, but once it's set up, it's up and running, it responds very well. So you just need to be patient. So I'll click on wait. I'll say don't use any network for setup, and then I will click on continue. Because I don't want to sign it on my Google account, because this is just for demonstration purposes, but when you install, you might want to consider having setting it up with your Google account. So it's still taking some while. It might appear to drag itself. You will choose your time zone there, and I will click on next. So I need to be patient because I just clicked the next button there. It's just configuring itself on the background. and here I will give my device a name. And then I will click on next. Then here for the Google services, I need to select what I want, what I don't want. You will read the terms, the conditions, and choose what works for you. But for me, I will click on next. So all is set now. I don't want to set up anything else. I think this should be the last step. And here I will use the launcher 3. You can also check how the taskbar operates, but I will use the launcher 3. I'll use the launcher 3. Just give it a time. Then I will need to specify if just once or always. I can try to click on it again. You see. So now it's setting up my my screen, my Android device. Yeah, now as you can see, so my device is already set up, as you can see, and it's ready to use. It's just loading, though it's quite slow because it keeps on configuring the settings in the background. So I will choose on wait. Choose on wait. Sometimes it behaves this way, sometimes it's slow, but not always. I think I gave it a little memory. I should have given it maybe 3 GB. And now it's almost done. So at this point, our Android operating system has already been set up. As you can see, if I scroll down, there is the back button, and these are buttons that are common in the Android operating system. I can slide down to be able to choose the network. I will click on the network Wi-Fi, and here I will select the Wi-Fi to be able to be connected. And it's connected now. I can be able to browse. I will say always. So I can choose maybe the Chrome, and you can be able to browse. So that is how you install the Android operating system. It's easy, and I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you very much.